I'm your host and owner of Uptown Comedy Corner, Angelo Sykes, man. And got special guest tonight, man. You know what I mean? And one of these kind of surprise type of interviews. We're real excited about it, man. Got the one and only Mr. London Brown's in the building.
Thank you for having me, brother. That's the first
Absolutely,
thing.
my
That's
brother.
the first thing. Absolutely, man.
Absolutely, my brother. I appreciate you taking the time, man, to sit down with us, brother, you know. And coming to Uptown Comedy Corner. First of all, tell me about your experience tonight.
You know, tonight was fun, man. Shout out to Dion, man, for setting it all up, man. I appreciate you guys for having me. We had Sharif Johnson hosting. We had Terrence Parker featuring. We had my boy Brandon Phillips who dropped in. We had some other comedians get busy, and the audience is good, man. It's nice. You know, the energy is different. You know, each club presents a different energy, but you know, that's why the host is so important in what they do. And so the way Sharif Johnson was able to get the crowd going, break them down, because sometimes the audience, you know, they might know a little bit of me. I'm on the show, and they may not know the other comedians, but that's why the host is so important to get that energy going and just say, hey, whatever judgment you think you about to come in with, forget all that. We are funny. We here. We in the building. And so I got to give it up to them because they set it up for me to have a fun set, man. So that's always appreciated.
Well, shout out to big brother Sharif over there, man.
Come on, somebody.
And shout out to my boy Fredo, man, because Fredo one who said, man, make sure you holler at people, man, to holler at London, man.
Hey, man, I appreciate that, Fredo.
That was
absolutely.
Big. That was good looking, man. So listen, London, I always like to do these interviews by taking trips backwards.
Okay.
All right? So we're going to take a road trip, man. We're going to take a road trip backwards to the youngster, man. Tell us exactly where you from. And tell us what growing up was like for you as a kid.
I'm from South Central LA. Shoot, I'm the oldest of, you know, I was the oldest of 6. And, excuse me, I grew up in church. My mother was a super spiritual woman.
Okay.
And my stepfather was a street goon, you know. And it's always interesting growing up in that house because they, even though my stepfather was a street guy, you know, we all went to church. You know, my mother would go to church, she would bring a Bible. My stepfather would bring a pistol, you know, so, and that's the truth. You know, that's the duality between the household I grew up in. But, you know, at the end of the day, I was always trying to be a solid example for my siblings and all of that sort of thing. And so even when it comes to, I got into the arts and, you know, you do some church plays for Easter and you get into the acting thing. And then it led me right into high school doing the arts. And after that, I went away to school, still doing the arts, but I got into stand-up and made that transition to stand-up. And that's been cool ever since. You know, I felt like stand-up was my voice, you know, so I'm just grateful that I found it.
Slow down. Well, we're gonna get into the stand-up thing.
Okay.
You know what I mean? We want to stick to this young kid though, man.
Okay, yeah.
What kind of student were you?
I was pretty good. I was in Gifted. You know, I got moved to Gifted in like middle school, and like I said, I wasn't cutting up. I wasn't a bad kid. I was always afraid of my mother.
Okay.
You know, so
The Bible told her, not the gun.
Right. Not the gun. The gun, because even my stepfather was afraid of my mother. My mother ran stuff, but just simply out of respect for my mother is why I never really cut up, you know, because I know I had to be accountable to her because she was a woman that deserved respect. Okay. You know, I never seen my mother drink, smoke, anything like that. So just the way she carried herself, she never demanded respect. We just respected her. And so that was my whole thing. I just never wanted to do anything to embarrass her.
Okay.
You know, so and then as far as finding the arts, man, that's just, you know, our gifts are not for us. I know that God gives there's no special people. Like, everybody does something well. And I'm just glad I was able to kind of find mine, you know. And my mother prayed. I remember, because I come from South Central LA, so the gang life, street life was wild. And I just remember my mother at like 10, she prayed that God would keep me so busy that I wouldn't get caught up, because we stayed next door to Crips, 5 houses down from another set of Crips, you know. So in the 90s too, you know, 80s and 90s, LA gang culture was serious. You know, it really was like Boys in the Hood, Men's Society, Colors. So I'm just glad that she had a praying mother, man. She kept me intact.
That's deep.
Yeah, man.
Because I was going to ask you, like, how was that being in South Central? Because, like, people who's not from L.A., you just kind of hear the stories. You don't know how much of it's real, how much of it. But when you hear people that's actually from there, they kind of be like, it's real.
Like, the gang culture now is a little different. Because, a lot of gang culture now is, they're doing music and making money in a different way. Gang culture in the late 80s, 90s was real serious in South Central L.A. But again, fortunately, they was cool with me because I grew up on a block and stuff like that. But that just wasn't my lane, and I just my church stuff kept me, just in the right kind of path. But again, that comes from my mother. I grew up, man, watching my mother pray every morning, like 4 or 5 in the morning. So when I see my mother with that kind of discipline, inherently, I guess, I picked up some sort of discipline.
Okay.
And I forget that sometimes but that's a discipline to have to get up and do that. And she prayed over us and made sure that we wasn't, getting caught up. Because South Central is just it's just a different place, man. But I'm glad I survived. I got through it. And, I'm here. So I guess the prayers worked.
How about that? Amen. So what other, did you do any other kind of activities in school? Were you into sports or anything like that?
I did. I played basketball with the church leagues and stuff like that. As far as high school, I was I did a theater program there.
Okay.
And I was a musician, so I was in band. And I wasn't, let me be clear, I wasn't a band geek. I wasn't like, okay, wait, what's the language on this podcast?
Is wide open.
Okay, I wasn't a nigga with a flute. I didn't no disrespect. I played drums, and I remember I played the horn, I played trombone and stuff like that. So even my high school teacher challenged me to play, I was in a jazz band. So playing in the jazz band and doing that, and while also doing the theater program. And my theater teacher saw more within me than I did. He was the one who encouraged me, said, man, you need to do this thing called acting. I didn't know. I thought everybody could act, but he told me, he said, everybody, this is something special. You should really lock in on this. So shout out to Mark Swinton. Mark Swinton was the one who really gave me some energy to do this thing called acting, because I didn't know.
Really?
Sometimes we just going through it. Sometimes that's why it's important to keep the right people around you, so they can encourage you to do what it is you're supposed to do. Because sometimes we don't know. We just living life, and this is a sidebar, but for anybody, if you're really good at something, naturally, you should really pursue that, because people are always trying to figure out what their gift is. The thing that you do really, really well with the least amount of energy is the gift. And I had an OG tell me that once before, and that's the truth. Because we don't know. Sometimes people just cook, right? And they don't need no ingredients, anything. They just cook, or they just they paint really well. And we take our gifts for granted, but our gifts are not for us. So once you understand that, it changes the way you approach life, because you wake up with a different purpose. Like, I only sleep so I can do this thing called being an artist again. Gotcha. Just enough energy for that. But that's where it started, man. I was just trying to figure it out and go through and not embarrass my mother. That was my whole thing, man. I got a lot of respect for her.
That's what's up. That's what's up. So now let's talk about immediately after high school. Where did you go?
After high school, I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. So that same theater teacher told me, said, "Hey, man, we need to get you in school." So he drove me and a couple other students. He drove us physically to college, go take a test in California. We go to the small college. We take the test. We make it, whatever test there is. And then I was there for 2 years. And I was up there. I mean, this city was so small. I had like one stoplight. Real small. So all you had to be focused, because there wasn't nothing else to do.
Yeah.
So then I did that. And by my second year, I auditioned for this theater show, and shout out to Mark Swinton again. I landed the theater show, so now we start touring, doing the theater show, and that's kind of where that's kind of took off. Where again, starting to work professionally, getting paid to do this thing called acting, and that's part of that grind. So,
what was her thoughts on the acting portion of it at that point of your life?
She was, my mom, fortunately, I don't come from one of them households where, there's a lot of discouragement about doing. My mom was always cool. You want to do the play, as long as you ain't in the streets. All right, cool. I'll drop you off at the little rehearsals. And she was cool, man. She was really supportive of that. That's why, I speak so highly of her, because I could have easily come from a place where they was, a lot of friends, they come from those households where their dreams get torn down.
Yeah.
I don't come from that. Yeah. So I don't know nothing about that. My church, people from the church would come to the shows at the high school play. It wasn't nothing major. We would do a show like Thursday, Friday, 2 shows Saturday and Sunday. And the church people after service on Sunday, they would show up to the plays. So I had a lot of cool, simple support.
Yeah.
And I say simple meaning they wasn't out in the audience with banners or nothing, but they paid the little $10 for the tickets for the play, and that was cool, man. They showed up.
I mean, it had to mean a lot to you though to see your church folks there supporting you.
Because I think people despise small beginnings, because even with now, people see the TV stuff that I'm on now, but I did a whole lot of free stuff back in the 90s, where nobody was even paying attention. So it's not overnight. And I have to say that for people listening who be trying to figure out how you go from one show to the next show, what's going on. I did a lot of groundwork before any money showed up. That's why people got to do something that they actually care about, or that makes them happy, because if they're trying to jump into this thing for the money, you got to be careful. People, when people are always about chasing the bag, that's one of the things that's popular. I'm like, man, you won't ever hear me, not me, no offense to anybody else, but I'm not about chasing the money. You do what you stick to what you're good at, and you always be good. Like, just focus on the thing that fulfills you, that makes you happy. The money will come, But if you are chasing the bag, you find yourself you find yourself in some compromising positions for some money. I'm not about that.
Right.
Not at all. Money don't mean that much to me, man. I'll figure it out before I just be doing something strange for some change. Pause. I'm not with none of that. Pause on all of that. It gets weird out there, man.
Yeah, I bet.
People do all kind of stuff. You be like, yo, how you end up chasing money? We can't do that, man. We gotta live for something more meaningful than that.
Yeah.
Because if you do, how about this? If you do something that really fulfills you, that makes you happy, inevitably you become good at it, because you just put in the hours because you like doing it. It's you don't even think about the hours because you enjoy it so much. You'll be up all night working on material. You'll be up all night reading and studying whatever that craft is. And next thing you know, you look up and you be like, oh shoot, people are willing to pay you to do this or that. Pay you just to do the thing that you love to do.
Right.
Yeah, I ain't chasing no money, man. No, that ain't. 50 said it best. Like, when 50 said, he said, if your biggest asset is your body, you'll do some wild stuff if that's your biggest asset. It's just your body? We gotta be living for something more than that.
Yeah.
That's not it.
So after these 2 years of school, like, where was the next step? Like, when did because I'm assuming the acting.
Okay, let me take it back. So,
talk to me.
Before I went away to school, I was working for the Los Angeles Times newspaper.
Okay.
And one of my boys from church said, hey man, the newspaper hiring, you sell the paper for $12. Commission at that time, or minimum wage at the time was $5.25, and you sell the paper for $12. He said, hey man, we can go over here. I land the job, and when I would sell the paper, that's when I started learning to speak Spanish. I was speaking Spanish because I'm trying to sell the paper. I'm hustling. So I learned Spanish to sell the paper.
Wow.
And then I would make people laugh through selling the paper. And sometimes I go into these voices, I sell the paper, and it'll be whatever, Denzel. Hey, listen, if you want the Los Angeles Times newspaper, okay, we got coupons inside. We got special deals. I can sell you a newspaper for $12. Boom, $12. Right? So now I'm selling the paper, and shout out to Paul Johnson. Paul Johnson, one of my managers, he said, hey, we're doing a job Christmas talent show. He said, man, you should do some jokes. I said, I don't do no jokes like that. He said, no, man, you make people laugh on the phone. You should just do some jokes. So I did whatever's dumb jokes. I think one of my jokes I wrote was, I was talking about Jeffrey Dahmer, and I was talking about what Jeffrey Dahmer's diet or breakfast looked like, which was bacon and legs, cinnamon toast nuts, whatever it was, because he was eating people. So whatever the joke was, I was doing that. But he introduced me, said, hey, you should try, and I'm like, at this time I'm like 18. He said, you should try, I'm gonna get you at this comedy club called the Step Up Restaurant in Inglewood, California, which is now in Roscoe's, Manchester in the 405 for those listening. So I go do this spot, and that very first show, I meet a guy called Cat in the Hat, who is now Cat Williams. So this is when he was rocking the Kangos to the back, cut off sleeve shirt, and he wasn't who we know. He was Cat in the Hat. Right. So I didn't know at the time, but we do this room together, and some other people from Def Jam I remember being in that spot with, and I had no set. I'm just riffing about the room. I'm tearing the club down, talking about the host. I'm young. I'm roasting, and I remember someone pulled me to the side, just like, "Hey man, don't talk about the club. Don't talk about the owner, because you want to make sure you come back here." So that was my first little touch of what stand-up is. I left it alone, and that's when I went to school. And then after school, I went into teaching. So I get hired as a teacher. I'm teaching middle school and high school. Wow. And they did it was a comedy fundraiser. And I was inquiring about the fundraiser comedy show. And I think the assistant principal, someone, they signed me up. So shout out to Dino Shorte out in LA. I do this comedy fundraiser. And when I did the comedy fundraiser, that's when it clicked. I was like, oh shoot, stand-up is the thing. That was my voice. I didn't, because for a while, and not to be self-aggrandizing, I do a lot of different stuff, but so, I was working an after-school program at the time. I'm teaching kids how to cut hair, how to skate, how to edit videos. Wow. Teaching basketball and all this other stuff, but or playing the games with them. But it wasn't until I did stand-up where I said, oh, maybe this is where I feel most comfortable. And when I did stand-up that time, that's when I was like, okay, let me look into this. And then somebody I knew said, hey, there's a comedy club you should try out. They got an open mic. Shout out to Enns Mitchell, the Comedy Union off of Pico and La Brea in L.A. Mm-hmm. And I started working that club on Monday nights, and started getting into that. And I think a year and a half in, I had my first opportunity to headline a spot in the hood called the Family Room. I mean, it's right in the hood, You're like, and I was working at club, and we would get paid because they would, if we were funny, they would throw money on stage like a stripper. Really? So people would just come up and just tip and throw their money up there, and I was using that because at this time all my stuff was in my mother's garage. I had a little Nissan Altima, and I was just trying to figure it out. But I would go there on Thursday nights and make my little enough money for gas and some food. And this was around 09 or something like that, 010. Anyway, I'm at the Improv Monday nights. Shout out to D. Ray Davis out of Chicago. Chris Tucker comes in. D. Ray says, has Chris Tucker seen your set? I said, nah, he ain't seen me. And he said, he should see you. I said, nah, I don't want to bother. I'm sitting in the back of the club. I went there to support my friend. I wasn't even on the show. Because my friend, the Improv Monday nights in LA is a tough room because they get the big names in there. Mm-hmm. So if they don't know you, Everybody sitting back with their arms folded like, what this nigga finna do? And so I went there to shout out to my boy Brandon Lewis, who's from Cobb County here in Atlanta.
That's right.
And so I go to support him. And that's when D-Ray told me, he said, Chris Tucker's up there, you should see you. So he says, Chris, have you seen London? And Chris, I don't know who that is. Who's that? And then, so I'm in the back of the club, and D-Ray grabs my arm, and he just pushes me on stage. And Chris says, all right, I want to see what you're going to do. Go ahead, you got 5, do what you do. So I'll go up there, and I do my little shtick, and we talked after the club, exchanged numbers, whatever. And I think he just basically told me he went around, just asked around about my character and who I was. And a month later, he called me, and I started touring with him. So that was like maybe 2010, to like 2013, something like that. And we worked. Obviously, we worked the States. We did Europe, and that was and because I toured with him, allowed me to win, I think, Black International Comedian or something for that year, or whatever that was. And so shout out to Chris Tucker, and that allowed me to work theaters and arenas with him. Yeah. And he fed me. Now, mind you, I'm still working my regular job. I'm on tour with him.
Okay.
In the middle of this, I'm kind of going through it, but in the middle of that, that's when I did a showcase in LA called the CBS Diversity Showcase. And basically it's like SNL, Mad TV, and Living Color on stage. So it's a bunch of writers, comedians, actors, whatever. We come together, put the showcase together, and all the heads of casting, agents and managers, they come out and they kind of scout us. They get a portfolio with all of our resumes and stuff. So when I did that showcase, I had a chance to sit down with anybody and everybody that was the people. And so I met with my first agency. I met with a few agencies, but I signed with one. And here's a funny story. I remember I was working with them. I landed my first TV show called The Hustle. Shout out to Prentice Penny, because Prentice Penny took a chance he purposely chose a cast that had no names because of how the show worked. The show was based on some up and coming artists on the grind. So if he chose actors that were already popular, it wouldn't really work for the scenario of the scene. So he purposely chose us whom people didn't know. I do this show. We do 6 episodes on Fuse. That's with some talented people, man. And so now my agency, this is the first thing. My agency wanted me to do this beer commercial. I said, man, I don't want to do that. Mind you, because I said I grew up with a street stepfather, alcoholic, right? I love him to death, but he dealing with his issues. And I was like, I saw what alcohol did to a family, right? To my family in particular. I said, I don't want to do no beer commercial. Because I'll drink a beer in the show, but I don't want to be endorsing it because I'm still teaching the after school program. Wow. I remember my agent was like, he said something slick like, yo, Lundy, you're lucky we even want to represent you. I said, I remember telling Chris Tucker, he said, man, you got to get up out of there, man. You got to go. So I sent a one-line email, thank you for your services, they're no longer needed. I parted ways. Now I'm agentless. And at this time, Chris Tucker, he decided to take a different direction. He was going to work smaller venues, so he didn't need me as his opener anymore. So now I have a show that is on TV. I think maybe the season just ended. I'm not on tour with Chris Tucker at this point. I'm still in the after school program teaching, and I have no agent. So I'm literally by myself. But this is how God works. I get a call from Chris Spencer. Chris Spencer is the creator of Hollywood Husbands, Kevin's joint. I don't want to butcher the name. Shout out to Chris Spencer. He says, yo, have you auditioned for Ballers? I said, nah, I ain't auditioned for that. Now, at this time, before podcasting was podcast, I'm doing a podcast. And this was 2014 called called Shooting the Ish or whatever. And I'm doing that. I'm working as a choreographer at the time. So I'm trying to pay my little bills that way. I do this audition. Right now, all my stuff is still in my mother's garage and in my trunk. I'm staying on my brother's floor in his room.
Right.
Occasionally. And he said, man, the HBO is looking for you. I said, all right, I'll go do the audition. And I'm so hoarse from not sleeping, but teaching and choreographing. They said, hey, man, why don't you come audition? I do the audition. My voice is so hoarse. I tell them, I say, yo, if you can't understand what I'm saying, let me come back and do it again for you tomorrow and we get some rest. They said, no, you did, we can understand you. I get a callback audition. Auditioned about 7 times, whatnot. And then 2 months later, it got quiet for 2 months. I'm like, man, I don't know if they want me to do this or not. I'm still in the after school program. I'm teaching cutting hair in the after school program. And I get a call, and while I'm in the gym, they say, hey, man, we want to offer you the part of Fat Reggie on Ballers. Do you have any obligations here? Are you married or anything? I said, no, I'm not married. I just got some hats and some sneakers here in LA. This is all I got. And they said, well, we want to move you to Miami. We want to offer you the role, move you to Miami, and make you a lead. Now, what's unique about this, the testimony in this is that I try to tell young actors that you don't, like, I landed HBO as a lead without an agent or a manager. Because a lot of times people, they see me or anybody, and you say, man, you got to have a manager, you got to have an agent, you got to have these perfect headshots and different things. Sometimes, being able to have faith is a very special thing. Everybody ain't got it. That's why those who can activate faith is special, because being able to say, you know what, the circumstances look ephemeral. The light looks dim. I don't know how this is going to work, but I'm going to still do things proactively to get to what it is I want. And that was how I was. I didn't have no money, so I was taking free acting classes and going to the comedy clubs, and this project, because I was taking those acting classes and I was staying sharp, when the audition came up, I was ready. It's like the guy who don't never get no playing time and he's on the bench. If you just sit on the bench and focus on the fact that you're not getting in the game, when it's time, when they call you, they say, yo, you up next, and you not ready.
Yeah.
You mess around and get cut. But I was ready, because I was starting to live my life in anticipation, because I knew what it was I wanted. So when the role came up, I booked it, and I felt like God was like, he purposely made sure he removed everybody, not in a mean way, not in the, and not to be hurtful to me, but he purposely moved everybody out the way so I would know that he did it. I wasn't touring with Chris Tucker. I didn't have no agent. I have no manager. I was broke. I remember that year, 2014. I had $28 in my account. I remember this. I took a picture of it. It was just a dry time. My little after school program was paying maybe $200 every 2 weeks. I ain't had nothing. I ain't had no rent.
Yeah.
I had my little car note I was saving up, and I had comedy I was making. And comedy don't pay like that. Especially not in LA. Right. New York, you can make a couple bucks. Not in LA. So I was, but I was making a little money with Chris because of the tour. But I wasn't with him. So I was just check to check and eating Burger King, sandwiches, and just getting through, and working that club that was paying me. So when this project came along, I think he purposely made sure everybody was out the way so I would know that he did it. So humbly, I don't take any credit for this stuff. I just want to be prepared, and I did my part.
Wow.
Because faith is interesting, because I think a lot of times people feel like faith is when you ask God for something and then you believe in it and then it happens your way. You're like, oh man, that was faith. But faith is also being able to trust when you don't get what it is you want, can you still
Right.
do you still have
right.
the ability to say, I don't know, circumstances look weird, I don't know, but you know what? Hey, I'm gonna still trust the process. A lot of people ain't, and that's why faith is so special, because everybody can't do it.
That's facts.
It's a different kind of discipline. But I don't want to be verbose. Go ahead.
Hell no, that was beautiful, brother. Hey, you told a story, man. So let's go to comedy for a quick
Sure.
For your comedy stuff, did you nurture under any? Did anyone kind of lead you to how to do a set? Did you how did that even come about?
I was very inquisitive about it. Peace be upon David A. Arnold, out of Cleveland. Mm-hmm. If you haven't seen his specials on Netflix, one is called Fat Ballerina. But look up David A. Arnold on Netflix. Brilliant writer, brilliant. And I remember he was one of the ones who really gave me the breakdown of joke structure. But then I also had encouragement from some vets, OGs, man. I remember King Kadar from BET, out of DC. King Kadar was one of those guys. I would go do his room, and this is early on when I didn't even know joke structure. He was one of those guys who said, hey, man, you got something special. Shout out to Reggie Carroll out of Baltimore. Reggie Carroll was another one who would encourage me. And there were some other younger comics, Clayton Thomas. I would ask him questions about, he's out of Detroit, and who's touring with Martin Lawrence now. There's a couple cats I would just ask some questions and say, man, how do you do this? And figuring it out. And, always along the way, shout out to Ruben Paul. There are a couple guys, man, Vince Royale, they were just they was cool enough. Because everybody ain't comfortable. Yeah. Everybody's not comfortable with sharing the process because sometimes they feel threatened. Sure. And I heard the slick talk, because sometimes what happened is my friends and family would come out to the club and they'll step outside, whatever, take a phone call, and they would hear some of the comics talking. He this and he's that, and my friends and family would tell me, be like, hey man, so it's cool. I never made an issue out of it. I made a note though. I know who the niggas are that was talking. It's cool though. It's cool because I already knew where I was gonna go. Yeah. So I never took it personal. I understand. That's why I tell people, anytime you have haters, it's not personal. You're just a reflection of their lack of progress. That's all it is. If you feel you have haters, you as the person that's feeling hated on, if you could be plucked out of the situation and somebody else can be placed there, that other person would be hating on just like you. It's not personal. Once you understand that, it just lets you know that you're in a progressive space. So haters are good. If ain't nobody hating on you, you're not doing enough. Yeah, you should. The haters are good. They good, man. I don't really worry about that kind of. We can't. Yeah. People won't hate on you anyway. So regardless, regardless. I'm here to stay focused, man.
No doubt. So now, when you're touring with Chris Tucker and you still teaching, right? How did that work with the school? It
was cool. Okay. Fortunately, I had an after-school program, and it was like a 2 to 6. And I just kind of told them, I said, even when I was working on shows, I need to take a month off. I'm going to do this thing called acting. They was cool. And when I would tour with Chris, usually it'd be like the weekends. It'd be like a Thursday to Saturday type thing. But I was also a good teacher. So I actually, speaking about this, which is funny, I got to go back on in a few weeks to be a keynote speaker for the same program I used to teach for. So they called me back and paying me way more than what the after school program job did. But I'm going back to be a keynote speaker, speak to these intellectuals about the process of connecting with students and that sort of thing, because even with teaching, the kids know if you're really there for them or if you're there for a check. It's a different kind of connection. So I'm so grateful that I have this ability to connect with people in a way that they know is genuine. Even with adults, when I walk around New York sometimes, and I'm always outside, but the people know, even with tonight, working your club, man, even before I got on stage, I like to speak to people and just greet them and just let them know, I think with my material, with how I connect with people, it's just very genuine. It takes too much energy to be something else. That's why, people are like, man, you cool. I'm like, this is what you see is really what it is.
Yeah.
It's look, the worst thing that I could do is try to pretend to be somebody else so that people like me, just for them not to like me as the new person. Nah, if you're gonna spend some energy, you might as well spend some energy working on building yourself.
Yeah.
This way, whether people like you or not, you still solid.
That's right.
So anyway, shout out to the people that came out tonight, man, because I think the way, even with the photo shoot, not photo shoot, but with the meet and greet we did at the end, I think people can tell from how I hug them or take the photo, it's the truth, because people ain't got to talk to me.
Yeah.
I don't assume, I know my friends feel like, man, everybody watch the show. Everybody watch the show. It depends on where I'm at. In the hood, if I go to a sneaker store, but there's plenty of places I go and people, they don't care. But when they do, it's very humbling that people even care to hear what I got to say.
Speaking of that, though, when you think about something we just said in terms of going back to speak, just how does that make you feel, though, that you've, have hit a lot of heights and people know who you are, but to go back and speak to these kids and to that facility, how does that make you feel personally?
It's just, I appreciate people even, again, they don't have to talk to me. So when people want a photo and things like that, I try to, as best I can, slow down and make time to take photos with people. Because when I realize, because I got a lot of personal friends who say, London, don't be trying to take pictures with everybody. You ain't got time for that. You got to do what you got to do. You got to go. I'm like, even when, sometimes I go to a restaurant and I cover the tab of a random table of people who recognize me from the show. And I remember one time I was in New York and the waitress was like, she didn't put the right amount on the tab. And I said, wait, what's the total? She said, well, you shouldn't be paying for people. I want them taking advantage of you. Ain't nobody taking advantage of me. I'm very aware. Because if it wasn't for that group of 5 at the whatever, Red Lobster, wherever I go, I wouldn't even be in the restaurant eating if it wasn't for those people who watch the show. That group of 5, along with the other individual millions of people that watch this show and anything else I've been on, they allow me to be able to afford to get to the restaurant, to be in the 4th season of the show. All that stuff matters.
Yeah.
So I'm very aware of people, even on the show. Shout out to the publicist. She, I remember she was very guarded, rightfully so. She tried to protect the actors because we shoot in a project, we shoot everywhere in New York, and she's always trying to make sure that we don't take pictures or people don't take pictures of us. And I had to tell them, especially with black people don't understand I can't take no pictures. They not going for that because they feel like, nigga, I made you. I called 50 personally and I told him to book you. They feel personally responsible. Right. So when they try to stop us from taking photos, I figured out a compromise because they don't want us taking pictures in our costumes because we got to protect the show and make sure stuff don't get leaked.
Sure.
But I put on an oversized coat and I try to take pictures with everybody because, again, I know. I'm like, if it wasn't for Tay-Tay and Shaniqua and Tyrone in the Bronx watching the show, you, Miss Publicist, you, cameraman, and you said we all be unemployed. We're not employed. We wouldn't be working on this show.
Right.
So let's, I try to show love and give that back, man, because I understand it, because I know what that feels like to be seen and heard. Real quick, I had a chance to meet Robert Glasper. For those who don't know, Robert Glasper is a Grammy Award-winning, accomplished jazz musician, and he got albums called, he got a collection of albums called Black Radio. He's the musician behind, he's like, for lack of a better term, neo soul. It connect with anything from Talib, Mos Def, Yazin Bey, Jay Dilla, Erykah Badu. He's the guy, right? So shout out to Robert Glasper. Robert Glasper, I had a chance to meet him in DC. And I remember going backstage and I met him after his first show. And I told him, I said, hey man, fan of your work. And he tells me, yo, I'm a fan of your work. When we on the road, I've watched Ballers and we had a whole connection. Point is, when I met him, I remember how he made me feel seen and heard. And the fact that he talked to me and not at me, we connected to the point where by the end of the conversation, we was like, yo, let's exchange numbers, boom, boom, boom. And it was just a good, solid old 15 minutes. But I felt heard and seen. That meant something to me. Yeah. So when I talk to people, I try to give them that same feeling. Because sometimes, man, first of all, people be surprised I just be walking by myself sometimes. I be in the hood, they be in the swap meets, and I'm in Harlem, I'm grabbing some chicken. They, what you doing over here? I don't know no other way to be. Yeah. Because but I just know what that is to feel like, yo, London took some time out and he spoke to me in he wasn't like some caricature when I met him. He was a real person, and we took the photo. Because sometimes even when people come up, I know they want to take the photo, and they may not ask me. So I like to break that wall down, and they staring and, look, come on over here, take the picture. Let's just do it. Come on, let's do it. Right. Hug, bang, take the photo. Right. I know what that feels like to be seen and heard. Shout out to Robert Glasper, because he made me feel that way. So I try to be really connected to people in that way, because again, I get it. Yeah. That's the cool thing about being a regular nigga, is that you slow down in your process, and especially while I can right now. I know one day it may be pandemonium, it might be on some Chris Brown's, I don't know, but as best I can, right. I try to keep cool and connect with people, because again, these people coming out allow me to eat, allow me to sit down and connect with you. Shout out to Dion Vision Presents, producing and pushing the show. Right. Shout out to Sharif Johnson hosting. Shout out to Terrence Parker, featuring on the show. We hit this road together and getting the energy out. Yeah. People don't gotta mess with me. So it's cool.
So real quick, man, tell me about your experience, first of all, with Ballers. Like, what was that experience like, the actual shooting of it? And that was a great show. You know what I mean? What was that? Tell us about the experience.
First off, again, that was all God. Can't take no credit for it. And it's, other than me being prepared, shout out to my acting coach, Byron Nora, who got me ready for that. But, what was cool about that, this again, God was so beneficent in just allowing me to do it how he set it up. First of all, I was only supposed to do an episode or two on that show. So they didn't really have any lines for me that first season. So it was a lot of improvising, and they was typing and writing as I was going. But the cool thing about that was, even if you didn't know me, all my scenes, this is how God works, all my scenes were across from Dwayne Johnson. So even if you didn't want to see me, didn't know me, you had to see me because you was looking at Dwayne. Right. So, and by accident, I'm become the villain of the show just from creating some snarky attitude. So they was like, well, we're gonna make him the villain of the season one. It was a great look for me to come out the gate and get all my scenes with Dwayne Johnson. And so that worked out in my favor in a way that I couldn't have asked for. That's just God. Sometimes, we'll pray, we'll say, God, I need a car to get back and forth to work. But if you're in the right space and you're moving how you're supposed to move, not only will he give you the car, give you a car that you want, he'll mess around and give you a car, not the car that you asked for, but he'll mess around and give you a car that you want. It'll have these other things that you didn't ask for. It'll have leather interior, sunroof, rims, tent, fully loaded. And that's how you know it's God, because you're like, man, I just wanted a car, and he gives you the car. Yeah. So that's why it's important to have this thing called, like, childlike faith. Because when children ask you for things, they don't concern themselves with how their parent is going to get it. They say, Mom, Dad, Pops, whatever, I want a bike for Christmas. They're not concerned about how many hours you got to work. They're not concerned about if it's going to be sold out. They just ask for it, and then they believe that they're going to see it on Christmas.
Right.
And I think sometimes as adults, we lose that, and we start trying to do our own math on it. And it's like, nah, just do what you need to do. How about this one? Well, a lot of times we ask for things, but we don't really anticipate them. Sometimes we'll say, God, I want a new house. And then we're waiting around for the new house. But the difference between that and somebody with faith is the person with faith, when they say, God, I want a new house, they start packing up where they are right now in the belief that I know my house, I don't know when, but I know my house is on the way. So let me start packing up this stuff and get rid of things I don't want to move to the new house.
Right.
And what I try to practice is with whatever it is I'm asking for, I said I should probably, I move in anticipation now. I'm like, okay, if I want a special, then I probably, should start working out this material. If I want to get ready for, whatever it is. When I was before Ballers, I was taking classes. I didn't know anything was on the way,
right,
but I was taking classes. I was reading. I was studying. And so by the time Ballers came around, I was ready. I wasn't sitting around. Because that opportunity, I could have missed it just that fast because it came up. I didn't know what was happening. There was no heads up. It was just, hey, HBO looking for you. Can I send me your information? Sure thing. Went in there prepared, and the rest is history. So, not to be vociferous about that, but the fact that, to your question, as far as the Ballers thing, I was ready. I was the guy. I was the guy on the bench, and they say, "Yo, it's just your. Let's go." Snatch the pull away sweats, tuck the jersey in, and I was ready to go.
That's right.
And it worked out, man. So shout out to, HBO and the casting directors there, and Dwayne Johnson and everybody else.
Good stuff.
That's favor. I didn't deserve this stuff, but
speaking of favor, then now you in this power, man. This series, this crazy. I don't know what you even call it anymore, man. But how's this experience, man, to be, a part of this thing that just blown up?
I got tons of these stories. So after I finished Ballers, right? Mm-hmm. I get the call. I'm with one of the top agencies.
Okay.
In LA or period. So I get a call after Ballers and Ballers was number 1 on HBO. All of a sudden I saw it on Instagram. The show was ending. I said, oh.
Wow.
And it was Dwayne. We're sorry, but it's gonna have to. I said, oh shit, okay, The Rock is ending this. All right, well, I know it can't last forever.
Right.
Whatever. So I was like, okay, the show is ending. I wasn't concerned about that because I don't trust none of this. Acting is like an incredible temp job. You work when you work, and when you don't, you don't. So, but my faith ain't in none of this. It's all man. So I got to keep my faith in God because all of this can be gone. Right. It's nothing. When I got that message, fall of 2019, I was like, all right. My manager said, oh no, I got a call from my agent. Agent said, hey, no, it's that voice. Hey, London, how's it going? I said, no, everything is cool. I said, I'm just working on stand-up. Yeah, it's cool. Listen, we're just going to let you know that we think that we're too big of an agency for you, and we think we need to downsize. I said, oh, this is that call. We parting ways. Cool. I wasn't panicked. I said, I got it. Because ultimately, I know what it is. I'm not on the hit show no more. So they got the people, and again, they got everybody on their roster, all the A-liners. So I was like, okay, cool. My manager said, shout out to Shauna. My manager said, hey, don't worry about it. We're going to find you another agency. And next you know, there's two other projects. Shout out to Robbie Reed, head of BET casting over there. Amen. So shout out to Robbie Reed. I just was with her for the BET experience. Robbie Reed calls me and say, hey, we want you, I got a project for you in Atlanta. That's the last time I was really here. She said, we want you to play Boosie Collins. I said, Boosie Collins? She said, yeah, I think you play Boosie Collins. And she's really, if you don't know who Robbie Reed is, Google her. But Robbie Reed, everything that was Denzel from Malcolm X to Do the Right Thing, is Robbie
Man,
Reed. She's one of the ones. So Robbie Reed calls me to play Boosie Collins. Yo, baby, do what it do. So I go down. I fly down here to Atlanta, learn the bass guitar, and learn the music, and everything. And I play Boosie Collins, and for American Soul. In the process of that, I get called to shoot this film called Tales from the Hood 3. So y'all might know the first Tales from the Hood. That was a classic. So I do Tales from the Hood 3 in Winnipeg, Canada. So I'm out. I do these two projects in that fall. When I get back, my manager says, there's an agent who wants to meet with you. I said, all right, I meet with Jason. We meet for 5 minutes. The vibe is good. And then the next call, he says, hey, there's a project, you should read for. It's called, I think, Raising Kanan. I was like, all right, didn't know what Raising Kanan was. It's just some project. And somewhere they kind of told me, say, well, I didn't really quite know what it was, but I knew 50 was over it or something. Okay. Audition before Christmas, send the first tape in. After Christmas, we meet again. He brings me back to the office to meet all the agents. In the middle of meeting all the agents, one of the agents said, he pops out his cubicle. He says, hey, yo, London, you got a call back for Raising Kanan. I said, okay. So I'm auditioning, submitting tapes. Long story short, I get a call. They say, yo, you landed Raising Kanan. This was early January of 2020, February 2020. I land the part, and then I had to move to New York, and we started shooting like one episode. COVID hits. So I'm like, okay. Mind you, I still don't know this is part of the Power series or anything. I'm on some show in the 90s. COVID hits. I come back to LA, and then, they first tell you it's going to be a week, 2 weeks. I'm like, okay, cool. Then it turns into obviously 6 to 8 months, whatever that was. I still don't know what I'm a part of. We return back to, they open up the restrictions, return back to shooting Raising Kanan in like October. And then it wasn't until after I shot the first episode where I started to kind of hear the buzz that we're like the third book or third spinoff from Power. I never watched Power because I want to be a part of Power, but I was on Ballers. So I was grateful for my show. And at that time, the three hot shows was Game of Thrones, Ballers, and Power. I was like, man, I remember hearing the streets. Niggas was like, man, that Power. That's the streets was buzzing. So I was like, man, I'm grateful for my show.
Right.
I wanted to do Power, couldn't do it, so I didn't want to watch it.
Okay.
And so, anyway, we filmed the show. We're shooting the show, and then eventually it kind of clicked. And at this time, I'm living in Harlem, in New York, and I'm like, man, this is a good space to be in. And I remember, after the show came out, I'm walking back and forth through Harlem doing my routine. But after the show came out, I remember a guy said, hey, yo, that's the nigga from the show. I can hear him in the background, right? He's back here. I hear him in the background. And I was like, I walk these blocks. I know these I know these niggas. And so, and I just try to, modestly was like, yo. He said, yo, man, you good on that show. You finally get a pass. And I'm thinking, how long these niggas been thinking to rob me? I get a pass. I've been walking this block for a whole year. I was like, these niggas been thinking about this. It's a corner of goons,
Wow.
Timberlands and 40 belows. This is real street niggas. Shout out to them triplets over there in Harlem, off of Lenox. And so, because I didn't know, because I'm moving in the city. Right. I'm staying on the other side of what's called the Stinking Lincoln projects. So I'm on like 131st in Madison. So I'm outside all the time because that's all I know. But anyway, the point is that this show has been really great for me as an actor because I can feel the stretch of my chops and skills. It pushed me in a different way. And I can tell that the people really connect with Uncle Marvin because of, they understand he's a real person. Yeah. He's not just a dude that's always eating and wearing some cool clothes with a flat top. But I can tell from the response I get from the streets, just what I knew was real. I had a dude come up, he wanted to take a photo. which is normal. That's cool. I'm in Harlem. I'm outside all the time. But the nigga had his pistol. Yo, get over here. And he's don't run. And he put
said,
don't run. He's holding me with the pistol like on my chest. And he's standing over here. I was like, okay, you know, that's cool. But
wow.
the way the way the streets embrace Marvin is cool, man, because you know, people want to feed me, you know, because they see me. Girls all the time, come over here, I got some wings for you, nigga, I got wings. You know, like, all right, you know. So it's cool, you know, that's the streets. And that's the same thing I feel in the club, though. When I come to the clubs, I can tell, like, there's an energy from the women, but there's a cool vibe from the guys where they be with their girl. But I could tell, like, they bring their girl to the show, but we have a connection that's different from the women, obviously. But the guys be, you know, like, hey, thank you for repping. Right, I need my picture too, you know. But they be cool about it. I ain't with all that. I just want a photo, nigga. Let's take the photo. I was like, it's cool, nigga. You gotta put your guard down. I'm not, you know, I understand what it is.
Yeah.
It's cool, and you know, on real recognize real, you know, and that's all I want to do anyway, was play something that was honest. You know, I'm not trying to pretend, you know. I'm really trying to breathe and live this character while I'm in that, you know, and because I'm from LA, I'm from South Central LA, so to play this Queens dude takes me being around the culture and really understanding. You know, shout out to Doug, the dialect coach, who worked with me, because I'm you know, shout out to Nipsey. You know, I'm LA, right? Peace be upon. That's why I'm always representing LA, and I keep something LA a part of me. You know, this is a Dickie shirt, and it's, you know, it's a Nipsey joint. But you know, I'm LA to the core. But for when I'm playing Marvin, that's when everything gotta change. I gotta, you know, get different for all of that, you know, because I'm LA. I'm like, hey, pull a car around the corner. But not when I do this other stuff. I gotta make sure I pull the car, make sure I make a phone call, you know. But that's where even that, when I first saw Malcolm X with Denzel in high school, I remember impersonating the scenes. That's where even the accent started. A little bit of the New York accent started to come in. Not because I studied that, but just being a fan of Denzel, I would go into the stories of. You know, I remember watching Malcolm X, and he was talking about how the white man does this and the white man does that, and nigga, get your hands off me. All, you know, and embracing that. If Plymouth Rock didn't land on us, you know, whatever the lines were, or even with Training Day and stuff like that, that's where the action started to develop. I didn't know that was a prerequisite. ... For raising Kanan down the line. I'm an LA nigga. I ain't got no business even in New York like that, you know, but I tried to do it justice, because New York niggas would tell you, if it wasn't solid, I'm outside. They honest. Yo, nigga, we like the way you play that part. I remember I met Busta Rhymes.
Really?
Busta Rhymes was cool. I did an interview or something. I met Busta Rhymes. Yo, nigga, you holding it down. The strongest handshake I have ever. His handshake is extremely. It don't need to be that strong.
Don't need to be that strong.
I love what you doing with that part. Thank you, Mr. Rhymes. I didn't know what to call the nigga, but he watched the show, you know, and shout out to Fat Joe. I remember running into Fabulous one time. New York is great for that. You can run into people all the time. So shout out to artists out there. But point is that it's been great. I've been able to ultimately none of this means nothing. I'm just glad to be able to, because I haven't had to worry about bills in a long time since Ballers. So everything I'm doing now is really to help my friends out. Like even this run, the money that I make from even doing this tour is I'm really paying myself back from all the niggas I loaned. I help a lot of niggas out. I you know, what's wild about it is everybody got a story.
Right.
And everybody think they the only ones. I get DMs. What's crazy to me is when I get DMs from people who don't know me, have never met me, and I can hear them. I see them, and I'm reading the words, but I can hear them. Hey, listen, man, man, you on that show? I love what you do on the show. My favorite character. Listen, I gotta pay rent. I can't make this up. I get DMs all the time from everybody who got a struggle. And it's not just me. Like I said, London Brown is fine. But there are a lot of people that I help pay rent. I've helped niggas get out of jail, funerals, and, even my family. I went from London to Cousin London. It's like, you niggas, Cousin London, you doing such a great job. Nigga, you don't even, we ain't spoke since I was 8, but.
Yeah.
That's one of those things I know. But so my even with, like I said, with whatever I'm doing, I'm just glad to be in a position to try to help people, because that's really what my heart is. Anyway, I remember I'm still working on this photography book. It's a tabletop book for homeless people. It's called the hashtag is homeless for people too. So people go to my photo page, they'll see this. But I was photographing homeless people because when I was in the after school program, there's the kids would throw their snacks away, peanut butter jelly sandwiches, oranges, whatever. And I started to gather up the food before they threw it out, and I started to feed the homeless people. And when I went down there, and also I was young at photography at the time, I would spark this conversation when I would feed them. And I realized that everybody that's homeless ain't crazy. They're not all on drugs. Sometimes these are vets. Sometimes they got divorced, lost their job, went into depression. But when we connect with people in a real way, you find out that a lot of us really are the same. We all got our different lives, but we all experience pain and different things. So why am I saying this? I'm saying this to say that with whatever influence or platform I have, I'm just glad to be I just want to help people. That makes me feel complete, because it's not about me. It's, I'm just a blip to what God is. God is beneficent enough to even give me this gift of art. I could have been anything, but he gave, and I say us as in the guys on the show, he gave us being funny, I'm sure if Terrence and Sharif wasn't doing stand-up, they'd be funny as a mechanic or wherever, So fortunately, I get to be an artist, man. How cool is that?
Yeah, how cool is that?
That's so it's very humbling because our gifts are not for us.
Yeah, no doubt. So what's it like working with 50 though? I mean, how involved is he in your particular show?
I've seen 50 a couple times. I met with 50 a couple times. I remember one time when the show first came out, the premiere of the show, season 1, 50's team called me and said, I was at the time living mid Manhattan, and it was like 11:30, and it was like 50 want to meet you in a club in Jersey. It's about an hour away. I was like, all right, whatever. I got to meet with 50. And I sit with 50 in the club, and there's bottles and everything going on. And 50 just gave me a lot of game. Man, you got to know how to do. You got to know how to move around here. I said, what you talking about? No, don't be caught up in all the, what I'm saying? And he just got a lot of game. With all the shenanigans that people feel 50 be doing and trolling, whatever else, 50's a smart dude. He's a smart dude who understands how to put people in the right position. Even if he don't know how to do whatever it is they do, he knows how to call the people that know how to do it and set it up. So I understand how I get it. 50 got a lot of game, and I sat next to him in the club, literally next to him, and he just talked to me for about 2 hours, whatever it was, and I just listened. That was my position at that time, was just to listen to whatever it is he had to say. And we've spoken a few times on the phone and whatnot, but he's cool, man. I got a lot of respect for him.
So yeah, you've done a lot. I mean, since from that 2014 spurt. I mean, you've had a lot of experience, man. So what is it you haven't done yet that's still on your radar? Things London wants to do next?
I gotta hit the big screen in a real way, and right now that's all a part of the plan. I know the screen work is on the way. That's why I feel like the way God set it up, it's like being in the gym. He gave me my first TV show that did 6 episodes, 1 season. I was trying to figure out, I was like, man, why ain't doing another season? It's a good show. It's #1 on views. Why are we doing another season? I wasn't supposed to do no more than 1 season because he had ballers in line. That was a crash course because I'm coming from theater. So he needed me to learn what to do on camera on a small show like that because he knew, I didn't know, he knew ballers was on the way. He wanted me to be prepared for ballers and to handle my weight playing across from the biggest star at that time,
Sure.
Dwayne Johnson. And all the skills I got or developed from doing Ballers was in preparation for Raising Kanan. So when people see Raising Kanan, they like, man, you doing a good job and you such a standout on the show. All of that wasn't, there was preparation, there were steps. So it's like, I started with just the bar. And he said, I'm gonna put the 25 place on there. Boom, get my reps up. All right, you did Ballers, put a little more reps. I did some stuff in between then. I got a Best Actor award for this project called, shout out to director Andrew, I believe it's Andrew Reed. I did a show called Asia A where I played this athlete who was paralyzed like from the waist down and so forth. And that project, even though it was a small, short film, I got Best Actor for it. So just another challenge in the middle of, in fact, every year while I was doing Ballers, I was working in between in the hiatus. There was another project. It was Back to the Good Life. Back to the Good Life. Shout out to Lorenz Tate and his brothers that produced that. Shout out to Kyler Pratt was on there. So I did Back to the Good Life. I did Merry Xmas and Asia A. And there's all these projects that I didn't have to audition for. Wow. Again, this is just God's favor. And he said, I'm going to keep you working, throw some stuff at you. Because God knew that Raising Kanan was on the way. So I need to be solid because I'm playing against Patina Miller and Malcolm Mays, Haley Kilgore, and the other talented people on that show. Makai, and he said, I need to make sure you're ready for this. So I'm going to give you some projects to get your reps up. So when it's time to get, and they said we're going to put them 2 plates on whatever it is, the 4 plates, I'm solid. And I'm lifting that bar off the bench because, and that's how I know God works for me. Everybody has a different process. But for me, I can tell when it's time to go to the next level because he just adds a little more weight. I can feel the stretch, and the growth of my chops. And so by the time Raising Kanan came along, my confidence is way different than when it was when I first did, The Hustle. First you audition, you're a little shaky, you're sweating, you don't really know. And then you say, okay, well, maybe you book something. You say, okay, maybe I do belong here. And he gives you something else. You go from being number, 7 on the call sheet, and you start going up to higher, you get to number 1 on the call sheet. And so I know this is all the process. I know my screen work is on the way.
Okay.
No doubt about it. But you got to be careful because now people watch the show and I just like my family and different people, my friends come up and randomly random people want to borrow money. Everybody got a script. Hey, listen, nigga, I want you to play a blind cat, right? You play a blind cat, but you're not full cat. You have cheetah and elephant. And you save people. I'm not doing that, bro. Everybody got a script. Or either they got a script to offer, or everybody, I get this one. Hey, maybe you could set up a meeting with me and 50. Nigga, I don't hang with 50. I don't know. And even with being in L.A., everybody think I just know celebrities because it's L.A.
Right.
People. So, hey, look, so how often do you see Snoop? I don't know that nigga. That nigga's... he doing what he doing. I'm off in the hood, so I don't know, But it's cool. I get the process,
right.
But all of this is to say that it's been cool, man. Working on the show is great. The reception of the show, and we shoot our 5th season, like in a month from now. So it's cool, man. The 4th season is gonna be good.
Yeah,
for sure, it's gonna be good, man. It's really it's emotional stuff going on, and Marvin is. He laying I'm not gonna catch you. Marvin catching bodies. Because the last season he was trying to be cool, help the white boy go through his therapy, and he crossed him. I ain't gonna lie, Marvin catching coming out the gate. What the you throwing me, man? And he's still snacking and eating and breathing, but he's not playing no games.
That's what's up.
He's coming out. He coming out. I ain't gonna lie, coming out blazing. It's a cool season, man.
Hey man,
I haven't watched the show yet, but I'm looking forward to watching this season. The 4th season should be good.
Hey man, listen, I'm a fan of the show, man. You do your thing on that show, man. And like you said, it's a great cast.
Thank you.
I mean, that cast is just awesome, man. A lot of people never heard of before and seen some of them, but I mean, it's phenomenal, man. But continued success to you. Listen, I do a podcast on Tuesday night called Classic Conversation. I was in that show on the top 5.
Sure.
So, top 5 for you. something you're gonna have to think about a little bit. Give me your top 5 music videos of all time. Your personal top 5.
Top 5 music videos of all times?
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna go with all right. I remember when I was younger, I thought the thing that I'll give you this one. I gotta make sure I say this. I gotta be clear about this. The cool thing about what I thought was cool as when I was into choreography, I thought that the None of Your Friends Business choreography, like the coolness of that, Genuine being a straight guy and having the cool guys like dance, cool thing. I felt like he was one of the ones that kind of really made that cool. Because after that, remember Cisco came out and he got a Marion and everybody else. Yeah. But I thought that None of Your Friends Business video, as a straight guy, you know, I thought that was a really cool. Just it made dance look cool for straight niggas, you know. So I got to shout him out for that.
All right.
Pause just in case, cause niggas is crazy. You gotta, you know.
You got to do it.
Yeah, I don't know, like I'm so straight. I eat a Snicker and I take out all the nuts. You know, I'm straight, you know. But I respect him laying down the choreography coming from the dance world.
Got you.
Top 5 videos. I like the Sky's the Limit Biggie video when they had all the kids playing the adults in that.
Okay.
Dang, man, this is pretty. Let me think. Gin and Juice, early Snoop with the braids getting braided up.
Okay.
Oh man. That's a. And what's gonna be bothersome with me with this is that once we lock them, we say good night, y'all, and Jordan. They'll be like, oh man, I got
all
6 more. These
right?
all really gonna show up. But man, let me think. Man, you know what? I'll say Kanye. Through the Wire, him showing the process of the the injuries and all of that.
Yeah.
I like the fun that Jay-Z and Kanye had when they did that. Got my swag, get back. What was that? The video where they had the American flag in the background. Yeah, the oldest joint.
Yeah.
I like the reason I like that one because I just like the brotherhood that they had.
Yeah.
The funness of that video, and then the light, maybe Common.
Okay.
Chicago, y'all. I love Chicago. I had a chance to meet Common. He cool. He talks slow. He don't ever change his expressions. I remember I met him at the Robert Glasper show at the Blue Note in New York, and he was impressed with my words. I was impressed that he was impressed. You know, I said something like, man, you know, nice to meet you, man, and I'm a fan, and you know, I said, so maybe the word was vociferous, which is to just be, I don't know, outspoken about whatever it is, or passionate. And I like that word. The word is real cool, Chicago. Like he represents Chicago all the way. You know, so shout out to Comment, man. That's my guy. You know, so maybe it was that. I don't know. Maybe there was a few.
All right.
That's a hard one, man. Top 5 videos.
I told you you had to think about, man.
That's a tough one, bro.
Yeah. You can go anywhere with it. You know what I mean? So, hey, well, listen, London, I appreciate you taking the time for the sit down at Uptown, man. It's been a pleasure to learn more about you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you for having,
brother. Learning more about you.
I appreciate you and Vision Presents, man, and for allowing me, Sharif Johnson, talented Sharif Johnson as the host.
Yeah.
Talented Terrence Parker as the feature, and my boy Brandon Phillips came through, and the other great comics. Thanks for just taking a chance, because I know everybody don't know me, and this is just a start. I can't wait to really come back. And we mess around, do a whole weekend, and it's just crazy. And this line is like, "Yo, remember that time?" I'm like, "I remember that time," because these are the beginnings that people, that's always slept on. So I'm always grateful that people take a chance early, early on, because I know people don't have to tell me. I know what the vibe is when they like, we don't know who's the guy. We kind of know him, but we don't know. I know this. I know that these are. Big Sean got a line that says, "I'm up for every hour I was slept on," and that's the truth. I know that this is the early stages of everything, but we're gonna come back at one point and it's just gonna be, it ain't gonna be standing room only type of situation. So I'm glad I get to say it now, because when we play this back, be like,
Facts.
nigga, you said that. I'm like, I know. It's just a matter of time. I'm not worried about it. I already see it. So this is good. Man. Thanks for having us, man.
Hey, man, shout out to you, man, and we appreciate the time, brother. Hey, this is Sit Down at Uptown, my man, London Brown. Appreciate you, brother.
Thank you.
Absolutely.